We're staging companies. We're not a couch company. We're staging companies. You're selling, as with any business, you're selling that experience to that audience. So like just a little bit of time and effort to stand out a little bit is tremendous return. I think people just get scared to really take that first initial step, and they're like, what happens if I spend a couple $100s and it doesn't turn out the way that I want it? Well, you just spend a couple $100s to figure out how not to do it. You can buy a brand new couch for $699 here in my town. I sell that exact same couch used for almost $900. Anybody that I come across that sells anything, not even just couches, anything, I always tell them to.
What if I told you there's a secret to snapping up the best couches before anyone else even knows they're for sale? Meet Ivy Flip, the game-changing app designed for the savvy couch flipper. Why trudge through endless listings when you can be first in line for the best deals? With our instant listing notifications for Facebook, Craigslist, and OfferUp, you're always the first to know, ensuring you never miss out on a prime opportunity. This means more deals, more flips, and more profit. Ready to unlock the secret to top-tier couch flipping? Download Ivy Flip now and stay ahead of the curve. Click the link in the description or search Ivy Flip in the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store and get started today for free.
Austin, if you could introduce yourself to our audience. Thank you for joining the Couch Pod today. Love to hear a little bit more about you and your story.
Yeah, my name's Austin, and I got into couch flipping just a few months ago. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I don't know remind me how old you are, Charles.
I'm 31.
31. Do you remember the I love booby bracelets for breast cancer? Do you remember seeing those back in the day when we were in high school? So I made ones that said, ask me about my wiener. And it went viral all over the internet for at that point. And I spent 4 years going on Warped Tour with my best friends. And then I had about 150 kids across the United States selling stuff for me. Then I kind of got out of that, jumped into real estate for a little bit. I think we had about 6 duplexes before we sold everything and moved to Washington. But my true background is just remodeling. Like I can do drywall, tile work, all that stuff. I hate doing it. And we just got out of selling our last flip about 6 months ago. But that's kind of a little of the backstory, but just jumping into couch flipping now has just been way easier than flipping houses and so much more satisfying.
Interesting. So if you look at the Ryan Pineda roadmap, right, it's actually the opposite. You start flipping couches and use that to get into flipping houses. You actually have sort of the inverse story of that. And so how'd you hear about couch flipping? What gave you the idea that you can make money doing it?
Yeah, Ryan Pineda was a big one. I knew about it a long time ago. I remember doing it a couple times because I just found some random free couches. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's just do it a couple times. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to be making, 40 grand off this one couch like I can a house. So I just kind of left it alone for a few years. And then I was just getting burnt out from doing all the remodeling work and flipping houses and managing employees to help me flip the houses. Then I was like, you know what, let's really try this. I found the No Nonsense group and I was like, man, there's people actually like making good money doing this. And I was like, what happens if if I actually took it a little bit more serious than I did before? And then it literally just took a life of its own. And I was like, wow, this is so much more fun than flipping houses.
Nice. Flipping couches is not easy work by any means, right? Like you're moving heavy objects in and out of people's houses. You have to stage them, clean them, store them, etc. But you find that relative to the task of remodeling a house, at least, that the workload is a lot easier for you.
I think maybe not physically, but a mental checklist of like coming into a house and knowing that the roof's leaking. The plumbing needs to be fixed. We got to put flooring. We got to paint this room. And it's pick up a couch, you clean it, you stage it, you sell it. So like the ease of it is just light years better than trying to manage an entire flip.
Yeah, no, there is definitely a simplicity to flipping couches, which is why, we really like this market and we've invested a lot of our resources and developing our technology for couch flipping. And that's part of the big reason, because we think Americans 2023, almost 2024, are in search of opportunities for themselves and their family. And couch flipping is just a nice, simple, and discreet business model. You're really not like reinventing the wheel. right?
Yeah.
People need couches. There's adequate, or if not abundant, supply of quality used furniture out there, used couches out there. And with a little bit of love and labor, you can turn that into something that is ready for another home. So tell me, you got started just a few months ago, but you have this entrepreneurial background, this remodeling background. How has that lended itself to the establishment of your business today?
Yeah. So the very first thing is I got a super rundown warehouse that's about 2,600 square feet, and I completely remodeled everything in it. I put brand new flooring, drywall, all that good stuff, paint, trim work. So that really, looking back at it, I couldn't stand remodeling, but that in itself probably saved me about $30,000. I did everything myself for about a month doing it. So that in itself was like my startup cost was really just my time at that moment. So that helped tremendously. I think the other thing is having the 4 employees that we did in the, when we were flipping houses, that also has lended itself to this, that I'm able to bring other people in and do the cleaning, the moving, the delivering and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like I learned how to scale a little bit on flipping houses. Then I just literally plugged and played over here and I was like, wow, this is so much more simpler. So the remodeling was a big help to the warehouse.
I see. So when you bought that warehouse initially, it was pretty run down. Well, how many square feet are we talking about?
About 2,400 square feet.
2,400 square feet. And do you mind sharing what you pay roughly in rent?
Yeah, so I pay $1,950, so a little under 2,000, and then you have some triple N costs and stuff, but roundabout figure it's about $2,500 a month to keep everything going, heat, electric, internet, about $2,500 a month.
Yeah, that's a great price. And especially it sounds like you got it in a not so great condition. You put in your own labor, fixed it up, made it suitable for your needs. And now you have like a beautiful workspace. Honestly, one of the coolest warehouses that I've seen shared in the couch flipping group in the community.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And yes, you can really tell that the remodeling background is there and that you've been putting it to good work. How is your warehouse laid out?
So you first initially walk in and you have a showroom, and then that's where we generally pull the couches up for people that are coming for that one specific couch. We move it up to the front. And then you walk through, and I've got 2 office areas when I actually decide to do content again. And then you keep going further back, and that's kind of like our showroom area. So if someone doesn't like the couch that they initially came for, we walk them back to the other area. And then probably about 1,200 square feet is the cleaning, the stacking of couches, just that whole area over there to get everything ready.
I see. So when someone initially walks into your warehouse, there's a showroom. You probably have a couple couches in there. Is this also where you're doing your staging?
Yes. So I have 3 different staging areas. 2 of the staging areas are actually in the front of the building when the customer first walks in. And then my 3rd staging is in the back area. And that's for your big couches that are like 12, 13 feet, because I couldn't fit that in the front. So generally when you walk in, that the 2 staging areas are right there, and people absolutely love it. It's truly an experience. They're like, wow, it looks just as cool in the photos as it does in person.
That's super cool. I mean, the thing that like is unique about your story in couch flipping is that you just kind of jumped right in. You know, a lot of people will take years, months, if not years, in order to work up to getting a bigger space like a warehouse. A lot of people, they'll, side hustle out of their garage. They'll utilize a storage unit. It sounds like, you saw the opportunity. You're like, I can make money doing this, and you just went for it. So what motivated you to do that as opposed to just kind of, slowly building up?
So I did kind of slowly build up, but it was a very, very short period. I did it out of my garage, and I remodeled my whole entire garage as a small staging area. And that was month 1 to just like prove the idea and prove the concept. And then month 2, I got a 40-foot shipping container put in my front yard. My neighbors absolutely hated me. I was like, hey, it's only going to be here for a couple months. I just need to test out this idea, this theory. And then after I just kept filling that thing up, I was like, if I'm going to do this correctly, I need to go truly after it. And then that's when I went into the warehouse.
So there was like some validation, which is the smart thing to do in any business, right? You want to validate that you can make money and revenue is going to come in before you make bigger and bigger investments. What was it that told you you were ready to make that jump?
I think the big thing was just the confidence myself to make anything happen. That I saw the proof of concept. It was a crazy amount of money. And I went, what's the worst that could go wrong? But yeah, and I just went for it. Even if I'm not doing it correctly, I feel like taking action on something is better than trying to prepare for it. And if you fall on your face quick, then you can just get back up and, do it again. So just really just wanting to fall on my face as quick as possible.
Now, do you think it was like understanding the process, like how to run the business from end to end? Or was it more like seeing a certain amount of sales velocity, like building an audience in your area? Like what gave you that initial spark of confidence?
Probably the sales. I've flipped a lot of stuff. Like I said, I flipped houses before, but I flipped kitchen cabinets for years and made about 10 grand a month just doing used kitchen cabinets. So once I saw how easy it was to do this and how many couches there were, because I could maybe get 10 to 12 set of cabinets each month. There wasn't a huge variety, and 9 times out of 10, I'd have to go rip them out myself to get them for free. But just the initial of plethora of couches, I couldn't believe how many people just had couches for $10 or free. And I was just like, this is nuts. It's an endless sea of couches.
And where are you sourcing your couches today?
Facebook primarily. Nick from when we went to the couch convention, I'm starting to do free pickups. That is something that I'm super excited. I just recorded a video, got my landing page, but primarily Facebook is where everything's going.
So you're just starting up the pickup ad strategy.
Yeah, I'm excited though. I love just talking and networking with people and just walking and be like, hey man, let me help you sell some more couches. Like that's just been an absolute blast.
So you have no shame like walking into a brick and mortar, they say no soliciting on the outside, but you'll
I have literally no shame at all. I just walk in and say, hey man, I know you sell couches for a living. So do I. Just wanted to ask you if I could help you. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to make your life better. Yeah, I literally have no shame at all. Anybody that will talk to me, I'll talk to.
That's a great quality as an entrepreneur. So going back to your warehouse and staging areas now, one thing that stood out to me immediately is you have not one, not two, but 3 staging areas. Most people don't even have one, right? So Tell me about the reasoning there.
So a couple of reasons. Very first one is I feel like when you become a market leader in your specific city, people will see your background and they'll be like, oh, I've already seen that couch before, and they won't actually click on it. So I noticed every time that I changed my staging area, I had a huge spike in views because it was something new. That's a big one, is like I just like to mix things up because it helps with the views and more eyeballs on your couches. The second reason would be my back staging area is for 12 and 14 foot couches. I couldn't fit up there. And I probably even shouldn't say lastly, but most importantly, it's such an experience when people walk in and see each one of their staging areas. They're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm buying this used couch for this much, because quite frankly, these staging areas actually look a lot better than all the brand new furniture stores because they're just empty warehouses with no staging. So people walk in and they're like, holy cow, I've never seen anything like this. So one, the experience, but number two, just the amount of eyeballs you get every time you change up your staging area is tremendous.
Super interesting. So I have a couple spin-off questions related to that. The first is, will you photograph the same couch with multiple backgrounds?
We haven't done that quite yet, but one of the kids that works for me, he's like, why don't you do all 3 of them? We've thought about it, but that just seems like a lot of work to go to 3 different staging areas with every couch. But we've thought about it. We haven't quite tested it, but we will.
I see. And what percentage of your sales come from foot traffic into your showroom versus ones that are made sight unseen via your marketplace listings?
I would probably say probably about 95% of all my sales are because people come into the store and physically look. When I see people that are like, yeah, I sell 50% of my couches sight unseen and I just deliver them. I wish I could figure that out here. I wish I could just deliver couches, but it is everybody wants to come see them. And I think maybe because my staging's a little too nice that they want to come see it to make sure that it's real. I've thought about that lately, that maybe I kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit because people actually want to come see it instead of just saying yes, but they still come in. So it's a win-win.
Interesting. Well, everyone has a little bit of a different secret sauce when it comes to selling couches. So, I've spoken to Nick at the Good Couch quite a bit. And for his business, back in the day, they used to sell 80% of their couches online, 20% in person. But moving into that space in downtown Denver, I'm not sure, did you get a chance to visit
Yeah.
that when you're at it?
It was
So
pretty cool.
moving into that space, now 80% of their sales happen from people coming into the store. And it, gives people a confidence that the couch is legit, you're a legit business, and their close rate is incredibly high. So it's a little bit more hassle to get people in the door, but once they're there, they're probably walking out with something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's like you can have 20 people message you on Facebook and one person will come and buy that couch. I pride myself in this. I've only had two people ever come in and not leave without a couch. Like it is my absolute goal. If you were walking out that into my building, no matter what, you're leaving with a couch.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
And at any given time, like how many couches will you have in inventory?
generally we pick anywhere up from 3 to 4 each day. We have 20, 30 almost every week just waiting, but I only sell about 30 a month myself because I wholesale a lot of my couches to other couch flippers in my city because I'm like, I can't possibly stage, do all of this stuff, even with another person helping me. I can't do 100 couches. Like maybe I could, but I feel like I'm just picking the best ones. So, and then I'm just selling off the stuff that I know that I'm not going to make a giant profit on, but they're still super happy to buy them.
Interesting. Yeah, that's also a pretty unique aspect of your business too. Not most couch flippers are just picking up the couches that they want for themselves, but it sounds like you're picking up surplus, but you're also offloading that to other couch flippers. So tell me a little bit about that. Like why pick up these extra couches and like what is the strategy there?
The Yeah, so the big thing for me is just the pure excitement of watching these kids come in and be like, bro, I just made $200. Like, there's just a different sense of gratification helping someone else that never even knew they could make that type of money. That's number one. That is just, it's literally so much fun to help someone else make money. Like, it's the coolest thing ever. And number two is sometimes I like to test out different strategies and see like, hey, what happens if we tried to sell 100 couches a month at $200 profit? Like, could we cycle through and sell 20 a day? So like, I kind of like playing with the model a little bit, but I just think everything has a value. And if we can make, a couple $100 on it, then I don't see why not to pick it up. Cause we usually pick up stuff that we won't flip generally within like 5 minutes from our warehouse. So it's not like way out of the area or you're driving very far. It's just come get it and text the kids, say, hey, I got some couches, and they just come and grab them. So it's kind of neat. I really like it.
That's cool. You kind of have like a little youth army around you,
Yes.
and it sounds like you've mobilized them in different ways in the past too. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think one day we'll see if I'll be one of the couch pioneers of the world, but I think it'd be cool to have like 5 or 6 thousand high school kids across the United States flipping couches for me and just figuring out how to make a little bit of money off of each one and then help them grow their business. Like kind of like how you're doing with Ivy Flip. You're just being the backbone to a lot of the business. But it'd be cool to have an army of kids flipping couches. That would be sweet.
absolutely, that's what we're about. We want to put people on, give them opportunity. It sounds like you're in the same sort of mentality.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough for everybody. I know that's a very controversy that you don't share the secrets with the world, but there's just so much out there that, yeah, what comes around goes around. You help those people out. There's someone that further ahead than you that gives you a hand up. So that's another thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And at a certain level, if you're confident in your skills as an entrepreneur and you're building a good business, you shouldn't be afraid of a little competition.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And it's actually happening to us right now. Like, when we first started our company a year ago, when it came to sourcing technology, it was just us and FlipFast. And I got a chance to meet Walter at the Couch Conference. Amazing guy. Like, we had a great
He's
conversation.
the man. He's
Yeah,
cool.
Walter's the man. Like, super, super down to earth, very humble. He actually came up to me. I wanted to go over and talk to him myself, but I was just kind of getting pulled in a couple different directions, but sat down, had a great conversation. And, I think there's going to be ways for us to work together in the future, as opposed to, thinking that there's only so much pie to slice up and go around. But anyhow, now I see in the No Nonsense group, there's this other company. I think they're based in the UK. They had a booth out in the couch conference, even though they didn't show up. And they have an offer that is relevant for flippers. And I hear about another one that's, supposed to be coming out in the next couple months or whatever. And on the one hand, competition potentially takes away our ability to attract customers or, makes us get into like pricing wars. And, there's all those stipulations associated with competition. But on the other hand, now I think that flippers will have more options when it comes to sourcing and they can pick the one that fits their needs, and we're going to put, as Ivy Flip, continue to innovate and create new products, launch new features. We actually have our cross-listing tool available now. I think I told you about that. But, and for us, like our vision is not to just continue to, focus on sourcing, but to create the entire stack of tools that flippers will need to run their businesses. Because what we're seeing is that this industry is very nascent. It's very in the early stages. It's really just emerging. And people that have been side hustling and flipping out of their garages are emerging and doing what you're doing, moving from a shipping container to a showroom, a legit business with its own address, something that people can like actually come in and visit, providing much more of a visceral experience than just interacting with some rando on Facebook Marketplace. And that's going to require software. All businesses in the modern era need software to operate. And so that's where like our focus is. And so if, other companies want to come in and provide sourcing solutions, ultimately, in the long term, I think that's good for the industry. And it's something that we're happy to engage with.
I think it's a great attitude to have because I always say all tides, all ships or tides, they all rise together. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's enough out there in the world for everybody to do their own thing. And why don't all of us continue to move forward? Like, there's no reason just to step on other people. Like, at the end of the day, the best one's going to win anyways. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, the leader is going to pop up somewhere down the thing, but always, I just feel like it's a good thing to always help other people along with what they're doing, no matter what, because why not? Like, don't just keep everything to for yourself. So I think it's a great attitude to have.
Who knows when you're going to need that help, And certainly I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for other entrepreneurs along the road sort of reaching their hand out and saying, hey, like, if you want an opportunity, here's your shot. And then me taking those opportunities and doing something with them. And so that's why, at Ivy, our has always been like, we are an opportunity company. We're in the game to create opportunities for people. It's like literally the motivation for us getting into couch flipping. Sometimes people ask like, why couch flipping? How did you get like, originally we were a fintech, like we were doing something totally unrelated. In 2022, the markets crashed and we realized we couldn't continue to build the fintech company without going bankrupt, essentially. And, we were working with Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, DoorDash delivery people, and we were trying to offer them better interest rates on loans, something like that. And when we're looking at their bank accounts, we realize like a lot of these guys don't even have $500 in savings. And so the question was, how do we put more money into people's pockets? So we started looking at side hustles. We looked at furniture flipping, cabinet flipping, all kinds of different flipping. But the thing that was really unique about couch flipping is the community. It's the fact that people are coming together to network and share knowledge and best practices and commiserate on their experiences. That is really what makes this whole thing unique, because there are other people out there making money flipping trailers, making money flipping bicycles, iPhones, what have you. You can flip anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not organized in this way, and that's really what made us take notice. And so, obviously we spark a lot of controversy in terms of like the idea of growing the community. That's what makes the whole thing cool. That's what
It
makes
is.
this whole thing tick. And, so we'll always be a proponent of that.
See, and like just like saying that right there, I think that's why I wholesale a lot of my couches, because it's literally the coolest thing. It's just so neat to watch someone else succeed because you help them. Like there's no bigger gratification than that. So I think it's a great attitude to have.
Absolutely. And, with kids especially, like there's something about mentoring a kid. I used to do debate in high school, and I was a debate coach for 6 years outside of high school. And so I was like teaching high school debaters how to debate for 6 years. And honestly, like some of the coolest work I've ever done, like the most rewarding work. I wasn't getting paid a whole bunch, but you're like sitting with these like 15, 16-year-old kids. I'm like, let's say I'm 21, and you're just like trying to get them like prepared and give them the skills and the mindset that they need to like go into these debate rounds and like win. And when they do well and they succeed and they thank you, hey, thank you so much. Like I couldn't have done this without you. That's hands down like some of the best
Yep.
feeling you can get.
It really is. I want to just add on to that, just one other thing with that. Growing up, when I grew up in high school, I would reach out to so many business people that were ahead of me. And I was like, hey, can you help me with a website? Can you help me with this? And nobody would help me. And I just absolutely hated it. I was like, I know what I'm doing here. I have something cool. I have something special, but you just look at me because I'm young. So that's always been in the back of my mind. I was like, I cannot wait if I ever get to the position to help someone else that's in high school. Like, yeah, you just have to. You mean like it's, yeah,
One thing I've learned about that is I want to help people who help themselves. Like I'll give you an example. I was biking, and I'm in Playa del Carmen. I was biking to like go to a cafe to meet up with some of our team here, because we have like some VAs that do sourcing for us in Playa. And some guy just like hails me while I'm like biking. I'm like, what? I was confused. I was like, do you know me? So I like literally stop in the middle of the road, and he's like, yeah, you just look like you have your shit together. And I really need help right now. I was like, okay, that's kind of like profiling, I guess, but whatever, I'll roll with it. And he was just telling me a story, like in hard times, etc. And I said, look, I don't have a position open for you right now, but I'm always down to give people an opportunity. And so I gave him my contact. And I said, get in touch with me. He gets in touch with me like 30 minutes later, and I gave him a test. And the first test was just send me a resume, right? Didn't do it. So at some level, when you're asking for help, you also need to be willing to back it up, right? And
Yes.
that's genuinely what I like about couch flippers, right? They put their money where their mouth is. They want something better for themselves, and they're willing to work hard to do it, and they're willing to take that risk. And it's not the craziest business model in the world. And so if we can elucidate the path, this is what good couch flipping businesses do. This is what you should be doing to make more money. And we can lay that path out for people, and they can put in the work and apply themselves and be successful with it. That's a win in my book.
Right. And didn't you feel that energy when you were at the couch conference? Like just seeing everybody from different walks of life, and you're like, I don't even need to know who you are, but I know you're a hustler. I know that
Absolutely.
you are. It was so neat to be there and just see all those different people.
It was amazing. Yeah,
Atmospheres.
absolutely. I talked to almost everyone in that room. Almost. There's about 50 people there. I really did make an effort to try and get to everyone, but I don't think I had a single negative interaction, negative conversation. I've been to a lot of these conferences in the past, like SaaS conferences, fintech conferences, blah 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 blah. And, this a lot of like pomp and circumstance. People,
Hmm.
trying to project an image of themselves in a certain way and almost like one up you. And, there's some politics in the background too, but I just felt like everyone was really genuine. They're there to learn, they're there to network, and we're all sort of like in the same boat in a way. We're all
You
trying to
couldn't have
build
said
this.
that any better. That you just nailed it. Because you're absolutely right. Those conferences, all the real estate conferences I go, they're like, well, I have 48 units. Well, I got 100 when I was 22, and you're just like, that I didn't see that with anybody there. Everybody was just like, that's awesome, man. Like,
Mhm.
tell me more. Help me out. So everybody there
Right.
was super genuine. It was actually
Mhm.
quite amazing to see happen.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get more of that dialogue going. And I think a lot more of that actually is going to happen in 2024. 2023 was birth of an industry in my view.
Yeah.
People side hustling and then finally organizing, and that was really the defining moment of, hey, we're going to come together and we're going to make this official. And so really excited to see what's to come in 2024.
Oh, me
Um,
too. Me too.
So I want to kind of circle back to couch flipping proper, because
Yeah.
that's I think what the meat of the substance that our audience ultimately looking for. So you scaled it pretty quickly. It sounds like you have a couple employees. So tell me about your overall operations. You have the warehouse. How are you doing your sourcing? Who have you hired? Yeah, just break that
Hmm.
down for us.
Yeah. So I have the warehouse. I have one of my best friends actually moved down. So he's helping me right now, just basically picking up, delivering, and then we text the kids every time we have couches that we don't want to do. So not crazy big. I don't have like a ton of employees or anything like that. But yeah, primarily sourcing stuff off of Facebook is a big one. Stuff off Craigslist every once in a while happens. But I think we're really trying to push towards maybe the free pickup aspect of it, because I've just had so many good interactions with like store managers at the new furniture stores. So not tremendously big. Hopefully, I can get to next level one day and have a few employees. That'd be super cool. That's the goal, right? That's the goal for all couch flippers, is be as big as Nick.
So your best friend helps you. He's an employee though. It's not your partner.
Correct. Yeah. Hmm.
And what is the division of labor there? Like he's out on the road doing pickups and deliveries, and you're staying put at the showroom. Like what is he doing? What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah. So what I'm doing a little bit of everything. If he's picking up a couch, I'm cleaning a couch. If I need to go inspect a couch that we're not sure if we really want to pay that much money for, then I'll go. So it's really like we're 50-50. Like I'll clean, 10 couches in one day if I absolutely need to. I'm trying to like kind of step away from that a little bit, but you know, until I have a few people doing that, I'm doing everything. I'm doing the staging, we're taking the pictures, we're cleaning, we're picking up. So a lot. I work a lot on everything in that business. Everything.
I can tell it's been a challenge to get you on the on the pod. Been chasing you down for a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're wearing many hats. He's wearing many hats. So there's not like a
Hmm.
strict division of labor there.
No. Yeah.
Um,
We just both wear many hats. I try not
mhm,
to be the person that's like, hey, you just have to clean everything. You know what I mean? Like
right.
trying to be fair in the whole thing.
It makes it more fun too,
Yeah.
I imagine.
Absolutely.
And in 2024, what are some of your aspirations for where you want to take your business?
I want to have, this is going to sound crazy, but I want to have 100 kids flipping couches for me. I think it would be really cool to go to all my neighboring cities and set up the exact same thing and just like help all these high school students like start their entrepreneurial journeys through couch flipping. That's my biggest goal. Is it'd be cool to just be a wholesaler and not actually sell couches like ourselves, but just like set this up in different areas and then help these kids get their start in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship through couch. If they decide to move on from that, great. But I just think it's that would be the coolest thing. It'd be super cool to design my own couch and order inventory from China that would be super cool to have like 3 or 4 different models of couches. That's a big one. It'd be cool to be making $1 million a year. I mean, that's everybody's goal, right? To make millions of dollars. But truly, the biggest one is just having at least 100 kids flipping couches for me. I just think that would be so neat to watch. And
Interesting. So, like, what would it take to get there? Like, yeah, because I don't understand the business model there.
I think what it takes to get there is first going through the next like 3 or 4 months and like ironing out all the bugs and everything to see what it looks like here. And then just essentially, I almost kind of want to franchise it in a sense, like give the whole operations of what I'm doing in another area and then put someone in charge of it. And then we just go recruit high school kids. But I think that's a big thing, is just really figuring out how everything else here works and just being the person that sources, pretty much like just ultimately being, we're the source of couches. You come to us. That's your business.
Right. Oh, okay, okay. So you basically figure out how to get the supply, and then maybe you go pop up a showroom in different parts of the country. That may or may not take care of the sales. It sort of has been in your neck of the woods. Then you have kids come in and sort of work the inner machinery for you.
Correct. Yeah. So the 2 kids right now, the top 2 that are doing it, they just come and their parents, they have 3 trucks. They show up and they just load up couches and they clean them in their own garage. But I think it would be really cool to have like each location to have 4 of the MITs, to have the 3 staging areas, but just have the facility and all the operations that they can work out of. I think that would be really neat. Yeah, that'd be super neat to do.
It's a really cool idea. I know Nick was doing something similar, actually. So he has a couple couch flippers that rent space from him in his showroom, and that helps them sell couches. And they also get to use some of his facilities for cleaning and staging and taking photos. And so, I forget what he called it. It was like a vintage mall or like antique mall. He called it like the antique mall model. And so creating like some communal spaces that can be used by a variety of flippers. And, you know, like you have this unique ability to walk into a warehouse and transform it, you know, just through the skill set that you have. A lot of people may not have the capital or the know-how in order to do the same thing. And so creating an environment where you could, you know, pay a monthly fee to sublease part of that space and like run your own operation out of it, there's something there. And I think in the future we will see more and more of these like communal spaces start to pop up. I don't have a time frame on that, but like you're already starting to like simmer on the idea. Nick is a little bit ahead in terms of like doing that out in Denver. So it'll be very, very interesting to know how that all plays out. And of course, if there's a franchise model, there's a software angle. So we might have to touch about that.
For sure. Yeah. Trust me. It's going to be cool. It's going to happen. It's been like a dream of mine to have hundreds, if not thousands of kids all across the United States flipping stuff. So yeah, for sure. It's going to be cool and it's going to happen. Like without a doubt, I'm going to push for it.
So one of the final things that I wanted to touch on in our conversation today is for someone that is interested in getting set up like you, and we're gonna, you know, clip in some of like the photos and videos that you've been sharing of your staging area throughout this podcast, so they'll have a sense of like what we're talking about. How do they get started, and like what recommendations do you have so that they can implement something similar for themselves?
I think the biggest thing is finding a landlord that isn't going to put you in a year lease. It's a very, very hard to come by, but if you can find an owner operator and say, hey, I have this idea, this is my thought, in perfecting your pitch, I literally talked to probably 40 different people before I found someone that would let me rent at, you know, month to month. So I think that's absolutely the biggest thing, is perfecting your pitch and finding people that will give you that opportunity.
That's interesting. Why do you say that?
Because I think generally people want to help other people. You'll see a lot of, how do I put it? If you come across the right person, they'll see a lot of themselves in you and they want to give you that helping hand. Perfecting your pitch and finding the people that will extend that opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing if someone wants to get into a warehouse space, is to find someone that you can relate with. that you can have that conversation with that you'd be happy to pay them $2,000 a month for rent?
Oh, I mean, like, why is it important that in order to like set up a warehouse like yourself, the staging areas, etc., that it's a month to month lease as opposed to an annual lease?
Oh, I think specifically a month to month because I'd like to say everybody can get into a warehouse and it's going to work out great for you. Commercial leases are really hard to get out of. Really hard to get out of if you don't have expensive attorneys and lawyers to get you out of it. So if you can at least attempt the idea and see it, and if you're like, hey, this is too much, I'm just going to stick to my garage or storage units, that you're not being chased down by someone to pay the other 8 months of the lease.
It's a method of de-risking. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That you nailed it. Exactly. De-risking yourself.
On the other hand, though, on a month to month lease, like you've come into the space, you've made all these upgrades, right? And now the property is just worth more. And on a month to month lease, you have less assurance that you will have access to the property in like a year's time, let's say.
True. That is something that's always been in the back of my mind, but I can't tell you how excited this landlord is that someone came in and did this to his property. Like, he's just like, I can't believe you did all of this. It looks amazing. So I think on the flip side of it is like, I'm that pristine tenant that he's never had, the one that cared about his property more than he did. So he's excited, but I do have a sense of a fear somewhere down there. If he just decided, hey, I'm not doing this anymore, that I would have to do it all over again, which isn't the end of the world because I'll just do it somewhere else or just buy my own building at that point. But yeah, I just like de-risking a lot wherever you can.
And if someone doesn't have the remodeling background, is it something that you recommend or you think that it's plausible for them to pursue on their own? Or if they want to renovate a space like this, should they go work with a professional?
It really depends on how elaborate you want to make it, because in the reality of my staging areas, they're just on a blank wall. I mean, I had to build the walls and build the rooms to get it there. But if you just have blank walls and you can install some flooring, anybody can make an absolutely beautiful staging area. I took it way over the top by doing the rooms and the walls and all other stuff. But if you just have a corner and it's flat and you can put some greenery on it, you can put some flowers, I think anybody can do it. And there's enough YouTube videos out there if you really want to go elaborate, to be able to do something like that.
I see. And I guess there's a difference between creating a staging area and creating a showroom, right?
True. Yeah. I was going to say, if they want to go the storeroom area, then you'd probably need to look into having a professional do it, because you can spend a lot of money trying to figure it out yourself. Yeah, if you want to go to the showroom area, do something like that, definitely hire a professional for sure.
And but as far as staging areas go, that's fairly DIY possible. It's like fairly possible to DIY your own staging area.
Oh, absolutely. Pinterest is like where all my inspiration came from. I just took a little idea from there, a little idea from there, and put my own spin on it. I think people just get scared to really take that first initial step, and they're like, what happens if I spend a couple $100 and it doesn't turn out the way that I want it? Well, you just spend a couple $100 to figure out how not to do it. So now you know how to do it next time. So I think a lot of people just get a little worried. I think if you just jump for it, spend a few $100s, I feel like it would be a game changer for a lot of people if they did.
Absolutely. I mean, I imagine you're pretty cost efficient in this build, but that's from years and years of experience and making tons of mistakes along the way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I do want to add one other thing that I feel like maybe we didn't talk about on the staging, is that anybody that I come across that sells anything, not even just couches, anything, I always tell them to stage, because currently right now, the couches that I sell, you can buy a brand new couch for $699 here in my town. I sell that exact same couch used for almost $900. And the moment I had an experience in a staging area, I'm able to sell used couches for more than they sell brand new. So I think staging is like the biggest thing that a lot of people miss, is that it's the experience. One is the showroom, but the staging aspect of it is you're just marketing better. You're showing what that couch can look like. And if you just take a little bit of effort, we saw an increase of like $300 to $400 on every single couch when we started doing this. And I was like, I can't believe how much of a difference this actually makes.
That's crazy.
Isn't it though? It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this experience. I mean, we flip a couple couches now too, and we've had this experience with some units where we sell it at retail, or in something like with certain like Wayfair couches, we've sold them above retail. Not a whole
Mhm.
lot, not 300, $400 more than retail, but maybe like 100 or two. And that's how we've learned that the value of a couch, especially a used couch, is exactly what someone's going to pay for it. And that's why this entire market exists, right? Is that your average consumer is very bad at pricing couches. For example, if you're flipping cars, even if you know nothing about cars, everyone kind of knows what the price of a car should be because they just go look it up on Kelley Blue Book. But that
Mhm.
information is not out there when it comes to used couches. And so, people, you're absolutely right. It's all about the marketing. It's about the perception of what they're buying, how it's going to feel and look in their home. And if you can sell that experience to them and they fall in love with that couch, it doesn't really matter what the retail is. It's about, what they're like. They're not buying a used couch because it's a markdown off retail. They're buying that used couch because it's the perfect fit for their home.
You nailed it perfectly. It is I couldn't have said it any better. Literally, yeah. I always tell everybody, we're staging companies. We're not a couch company. We're staging companies. You're selling, as with any business, you're selling that experience to that person. And there's hundreds. The other 99% of the couches that are posted on Facebook, they have a dog hanging off and a child coloring on it. So like just a little bit of time and effort to stand out a little bit is tremendous returns. So yeah, you said it perfectly though.
So, in your opinion, this is maybe the X factor that could make or break, or this is the X factor that could make a huge difference for a lot of the couch flippers that are hustling and trying to grow their business.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're making a couple $100 more per couch, it's like kind of like at the beginning when you're a couch flipper, you get a couch for free and you sell it for $300 and you're like super excited and you're happy. And then as you get a couple months into it, you're like, dang, I could have sold that same couch for $600. And then when it really clicks in is when you sell that same couch you sold for 200 for $1,000. Then it's like, holy cow, I can flip one couch and make $800 profit, or I can flip six couches at 100, 150, 125. So I feel like once that aha moment clicks on, it's just a tremendous, it's like pouring gasoline on something that you're already doing, and you're not doing really anything different than spending maybe a week on your staging area. Tremendous returns.
Like I'm having that aha moment right now. And this is what's cool about the pod is I try to bring on guests from all different walks of life, all different corners of the United States, and everyone has a little bit of a different secret sauce when it comes to their business. And your thing happens to be staging, right? And well, maybe there are other things too, right? But
Yeah.
the thing that we were
No, you're
talking
good.
about today.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Dylan Pabia, he had the couch drop.
He's the
Roman.
man.
Yeah, Dylan's awesome. Joyce Ree, who I just had on, she's been really great at building her social media brand, her Instagram, and also at, taking risks. The list goes on. But everyone has a little bit of a different spin in how they've made their business successful. And it's the sharing of these individual ideas that like now it's part of a dialogue and you can kind of pick and choose what you think might fit your business and what you're doing. And so if you weren't doing couch drops before, maybe now you're going to start, create your own Facebook group. You start dropping couches. If you weren't staging couches before, maybe this is the motivation that you needed to go and take action. And because in a way, you've de-risked this idea for them, right? If the idea of spending a couple $100 on drywall and flooring seemed insurmountable in the past and seemed too risky, well, what you're saying is like, you should take that risk, right? It'll 100% pay off if you can execute it correctly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Such a firm believer. And like what you said, what I like the most about that is that everybody has something a little bit different and you just take a little bit from everybody. Cause I'm doing the same thing that Dylan's doing. I had him mentor for me a little bit on the couch drops. Absolutely brilliant. I love doing it. I think it's so cool. I never in a million years would thought you could do that with couches. But everybody has this little secret sauce that you can just plug and play from everywhere. And hopefully people, if when they watch this, they'll be like, hey, maybe I should take the chance on staging. I'm going to say it again. Go do it. I promise you it will literally change your entire business overnight if done correctly.
Amazing. Well, listeners, audience, you've heard it straight from the horse's mouth. If you're not staging already, you better get on your staging game. Austin, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I think you have dropped some great nuggets here for our audience, and looking forward to future conversations as well.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always fun to talk with people about couches.